Hey YouTube, it's Magician34, and I have a reimagined Flamvell-Sworn for you with some cool tricks. Let's go ahead and get to it. Thought you might like this. It runs 3 Flamvell Fire Dog. This guy's kind of the heart of Flamvells as they are right now. And we've got 2 copies of Flamvell Magician. He's one of your more obvious Flamvell targets that you can go get with Fire Dog, and he's good to rekindle with, and so on and so forth. We have 1 copy of Flamvell Archer. He's the 3-star tuner guy. He's got a nice little pump effect, but he's primarily just to be a 3-star tuner. We also have 1 copy of Flamvell Baby. You can pitch him to pump up a fire monster, like you can discard him to pump your fire dog to swing for 23. He's also 800 attack, but basically he's your 1-star tuner. He allows you to do some cool sinking tricks. But anyway, getting on into the stuff that's going to mill our Flamvells, namely our Lightsworns, we have 3 copies of Lila, Lightsworn Sorceress. She mills 3, which is wonderful, plus she can pop back rows, which is very important. There aren't as many back rows at the time, in the current meta as there might be, but the ones that are out there, you definitely want to hit things like Solemn Warning and whatnot, and she forces your opponent to either flip it to her summon or just lose it for nothing. Another good mill for 3 is Lumina. Obviously, we got 2. We can run 2. There's no reason not to take advantage of it. It's great milling. It can discard from your hand, make Xyzes, support Synchros, you name it. We also have 2 copies of Jane, Lightsworn Paladin. We're running 2 because she runs over a lot of crucial stuff because she attacks for 21. Plus she just mills 2. You can just straight up summon and mill. And 18 isn't bad on defense either. And our final Lightsworn, we're only running 4 different named Lightsworns, but we got a lot of each. We're running 3 copies of Raikou because he mills 3. He's also good early game sets, and he can destroy a card, which is obviously makes him pretty useful. And those are 10 Lightsworns, 4 different names, which is just enough. We can also justify running our Judgment Dragon at 2. We're not running Beckoning or anything to retrieve, but it's not a big deal if you mill your judges because you're not relying on them to win. It's just one more potential win condition. Speaking of milling things, we also have Card Trooper times 2 because we can't run 3. He's just a very quick, hard to stop mill, and drawing the card is good. He's also very nice early game to just summon and mill. It's easy to get our field clean, so Gores is easy to disguise and also to fake and bluff your opponents with when you don't have him. He's just excellent. There's no reason not to run him, plus we have 1-star tuners. Just lots of good stuff about Gores in this deck. Honest, plenty of light targets we can use Honest for. He's just still so powerful. There's just no argument about that, really. 2 copies of Effect Veiler. Obviously, a lot of decks are stopped by this. It's a very powerful card right now. Plus, it's light attribute, which I guess doesn't hurt, and doesn't hurt also that you can, of course, use it as a tuner. Alright, for spells, we're running 3 copies of Rekindling. That's to make sure that we hit it. This card is almost always a bomb anytime you hit it, and we have lots of milling power. So a pretty good chance you're going to be rekindling to bring back at least 2 monsters, if not more. This thing can set you up for some huge plays. I mean, it can as much as +4 you. Pretty dynamic, and your opponent never knows what else is coming after it, if you have another rekindling or a normal summon to follow it or whatever. So it can force your opponent to make some difficult guess plays. Speaking of milling, once again, we got Charge of the Light Brigade. This can help you get that Lightsworn you're missing. Often you'll want Lila or Lumina, situation dependent, but it's just a great mill card, one of the best. We also have 3 copies of Solar Recharge. We can definitely support this. Don't be afraid to mill those Lightsworns because you're going to draw, and then you're going to get that mill they would have gotten you anyway. Just gives you that regularity that you need in your deck, that consistency. Monster Reborn, kind of no-brainer. Lots of things we want to bring back and make Synchros, make Xyzes. So those big combination plays are important. We also have Mind Control. Lots of ways to take advantage of our opponent's monsters with this card. Also, we have Dark Hole. Our field can be cleaned quite easily. If our opponent upsets one of our plays, then you drop that Dark Hole, clean them up, and then you just swing through a clean field with Rekindling or Judgment Dragon or a Lumina that helps you get a big field out. Just you name it, really, in a lot of cases. Heavy Storm, just one more way to get rid of those back rows. 2 Mystical Space Typhoons. You can run 3, but triple Lila kind of makes that unnecessary, and the Raikous help too. So we're just running the 2 MSTs. Our deck is very monster reliant, and Rekindling doesn't like Warning. That's why we're running the MSTs at 2. But like I say, 3 is a little excessive. We also have this card, Forbidden Lance. This really helps Fire Dog quite a bit. This can be a surprise, especially after Honest has gone to the grave and your opponent assumes they can automatically beat anything in battle, but it's also a great way to take advantage of your opponent relying on cards like Torrential Tribute, Bottomless Trap Hole, Dimension Prison. Lila really likes this card too, because you can summon her into a clean field and your opponent flips a card to try to kill her. You lance, then you can attack if the field is clean, and if not, you can still switch her to defense position and pop another card. So a very useful card for this deck indeed. Just a great card, period. And last but not least, we're running 2 copies of Fiend Comedian. A lot of you may not know what this card does, but basically it's coin toss chance, and one way you're going to remove from play, you're going to banish every card in your opponent's grave, and the other way, you're going to mill that many cards from as many cards as your opponent had in their grave, you're going to send that many cards from the top of your deck to your grave. So it's just a win-win for you in this deck, and it gives you a really good out against Chaos Dragons, who absolutely hate this card. Basically, you just flip it when your opponent MSTs, or when you would like some stuff in your grave, or if they're about to make a play that uses their grave, like they summon their Darkness Metal Dragon, just you name it. Anytime you can flip it, and one way or the other, it's going to give you something good. And most decks, in fact, can be hurt by this card hitting their grave, and you'll always like the mill. So it's really a useful card. It's a great card for this deck. The extra deck, we have Red Nova Dragon because we can make him, and this guy is he's very hard to argue with if your opponent doesn't run D-Prison or Compulsory Evacuation Device. He's just a Titan. He's huge. He usually drops onto the field about 5 grand or so. He's hard to get rid of. And then you've got support from the rest of the deck, of course, to go with him. So under the right circumstances, he is the way to go. We can also make Mistworm fairly easily, especially after Kindling. He can be a good way to swing for game. We also have Stardust Dragon, Scrap Dragon, Red Dragon Arcfiend, obviously, to go get that Red Nova, and just to be a big beat stick by itself. Colossal Fighter, Black Rose Dragon, Ancient Fairy Dragon. Sometimes you're going to have to use that Fire Dog to swing through, go get the Flamvell Archer, and then special this guy in defense mode at the end of your turn if you're afraid your opponent might push through. The 3000 defense can be quite nice, and it's another 7-star alternative if you already used your Black Rose or something, or want to save it. We also have Bryanak. We can make him with a little bit of creative sinking and whatnot. We have Allied Justice Cataster. TG Hyper Librarian, because Rekindling can really put Librarian to good use. So this guy isn't necessarily dead in every deck, it's just he needs, the right home, and this is the right home for him. As far as Ixies monsters, we have Maestroke the Symphony Djinn and Gemnite Pearl as our rank 4s. These can be just one more way, especially to take advantage of mind control. But you can also use the Fire Dog to go take advantage of it too. We have Wind Up Zenmains as one of our rank 3s, and our other rank 3 is Levier the Sea Dragon. He's mainly utilitarian. We don't do a lot of removing ourselves really at all. But there are enough cards that opponents tend to run commonly that they might remove for us, in which case we can use Levier to our advantage. So, that's the deck. Flamvell-Sworns, reimagined once again. So, until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and check out my channel for more cool gaming content.